You've been there. You hit send on a massive paragraph-long text, or you keep rambling in a meeting just to fill the dead air. Then, nothing. Just crushing, echoing silence, and that sudden, sinking feeling in your stomach. We are often taught that to command respect, you have to dominate the room. Society tells us to project our raw, unfiltered selves at all times, assuming that whoever speaks the loudest and most frequently holds the authority. But watch the actual social dynamics at play. The individuals carrying the most weight in any given situation are almost always the ones speaking the least. They are the people who are entirely comfortable letting a heavy silence just hang there. That silence creates a vacuum. By refusing to fill it, you signal that you aren't being pushed around by your own impulses, forcing everyone else in the room to wonder exactly what you're thinking. When faced with an awkward pause, our brains experience a spike in nervous tension. To relieve that pressure, we rely on a biological impulse known as a disclosure exchange. We use rapid speech as a release valve to make ourselves feel better. The problem is, the listener picks up on this instantly. When you talk merely to soothe your own anxiety, the other person unconsciously registers that insecurity, and you immediately lose their respect. You can counteract this with a simple mechanical fix, the 2-second rule. When faced with a tense question or an awkward silence, force yourself to count to 2 before opening your mouth. Imposing that deliberate pause flips the entire dynamic. It shows the room that you have inherent patience and emotional control, rather than a desperate need for validation. This level of control often makes people feel guilty, as if they are being fake. But down to the very baseline of every human being, we are social animals designed by evolution to be actors. Look at children who are 3 or 4 years old. They are constantly pretending. They will act like perfect little angels, playing sweet and innocent specifically because they want some candy or a new game. This is highly calibrated stagecraft. You learn at an early age to control what you say and how you behave based on the audience, whether you are sitting in a boardroom or out with your best friends. Accepting this performance as a tool for social cooperation allows you to navigate the world effectively. Getting over the notion that we can all just be whoever we are at all times is essential for gaining influence. This stagecraft is especially critical when dealing with the people above you. A person in a position of authority might seem unshakable, but with a massive ego comes deep-hidden insecurities. They are constantly wondering if they are still popular or doing a good job. If you try too eagerly to impress them, and you do such a great job that all the attention accrues to you, you trigger an unconscious threat response. They start to worry that you are after their job, and resentment begins to build. Instead of focusing on your own need for validation, you have to become a master observer of their psychology. Do the hard work, but tone it down, and deliberately step back so your superior can bask in the glory. That same restraint applies not just to what you say, but to when you show up at all. This is the strategy of the dynamics of absence. On a chart showing availability versus audience interest, constant presence makes people bored and the interest line drops. But watch what happens when you suddenly disappear. Withdrawing creates a blank canvas. The audience projects their curiosity, driving interest straight up. Historical and cultural figures have used this exact dynamic for decades. Michael Jackson, who extensively studied the laws of power, understood that you can't be in the attention cycle constantly. He would deliberately withdraw so people would obsess over his next move. Modern artists like Beyoncé play the same game. By stepping out of the spotlight and refusing to constantly feed the content machine, they maintain absolute control over their public narrative. Deliberately withholding your presence forces others to actively think about you, effectively converting your absence into a form of active influence. This brings us to a final, critical error that trips up successful people: the strength trap. Someone will rise to a position of power based on one specific quality, whether that is intense aggression or a warm, people-pleasing charm. They get to the top, but then the business world shifts, rivals change. Yet they rigidly hold on to that single trait that worked 10 years ago. When the environment evolves and your persona doesn't, that former strength becomes a fatal weakness. Machiavelli noted that a perfect leader is one who can change with the times. True power looks exactly like a river, flowing quickly around obstacles and taking new shapes as the surrounding landscape alters. It is terrifying to abandon the personality that originally built your career. But relying on one rigid strategy that you constantly exude to the world ensures you will eventually be left behind by it. True power relies on the continuous, quiet practice of self-regulation, the discipline to know when to adapt and exactly when to let the silence hang.